Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for a radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also, tuning in online worldwide, thanks to iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, we're glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome Nick Witherill to our broadcast today. He's the CEO and founder of Be Your Board. We're going to talk to him not only about what it's been like for him to have a product that people literally around the world are enjoying, but also how the journey began for him. We're going to talk to him about what it's been like for him to see the success, but also the role that social media has played as well. Nick, really appreciate you stopping by the broadcast today.
Cyrus, thanks for having me on.
The pleasure is definitely all mine. When I was prepping for this segment, especially finding out more information about the game itself, I think the interesting thing for me is how much you've used platforms like YouTube. We're going to get more into that. But I want to talk, Nick, first of all, about this experience. What has it been like for you to see the success of the product?
It's been wild. You know, when I was starting the company, I knew that I liked the game. And that's the reason I, kept going forward with it. But just to see it grow and to see so many people enjoy it the same way I did from the beginning has been probably one of the best aspects of the experience so far.
Well, for those who are just now finding out about it, of course, we're talking about the tabletop game that you've been able to create. How did this all begin for you, Nick?
So after I played college basketball, my teammates and I would always play FIFA, so we ended up getting really into soccer and getting really competitive on FIFA. So I learned the game of soccer and realized that, man, this is an amazing sport. I think I'd like this more than basketball at this point. And so I started following all these soccer Instagrams and whatnot, and I saw these games from South and Central America where they had a quarter or some sort of coin on a wood board trying to just get the quarter through an area on the opponent's side of the tabletop game. And I was like, man, that just like flicking something seemed cool. Like, what if that was soccer? So I went on to Google, Amazon, onto the internet looking for a soccer tabletop board game, and there was only some little plastic things or games, like soccer board games that looked like they're for, children. And I was like, man, I'm not going to put this on my coffee table. So I went down to Home Depot, Michael's, bought a bunch of random parts, turf, wood, nails, and started making them myself. And eventually, all my friends and family started asking me what we were playing on my Instagram all the time, and because I had made this little soccer board game, and it just continued to grow from there. That was about 4.5 years ago, and now we're here, over 50,000 units sold, and it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I mentioned YouTube, and I want to talk about that because it's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the timeline, because even some of the videos I saw, Nick, were 4 years ago, and it really did become not only, of course, showing how the game brings people together, but also the fun of it as well. Did you know going in that social media and sites like YouTube would be important to the game's success?
Yes. So that was a big thing since day one, is just having fun and filming the content that I wanted to film. And that was, that's the beauty of having your own business, is that, you get to make it you. And I think that's actually one of the keys to success, is through social media, showing people, this is you, an extension of you, and having a good time. And YouTube from day one we were just putting up content. It wasn't, you can go back and look at those old videos. They weren't the highest quality content, but the fact is we were just pushing as much as we could. And through that, we learned how to make quality content and learn how to get on a content schedule and produce, high quality content for our continually growing customer base.
So talk to us about the name Be Your Board. How did the name come about?
So we had some really bad names initially. We were just playing on this little finger soccer board, and eventually we had a friend we called Robaldinho, this big dude that was just had a lot of swagger, and so we're like, man. Like, we kind of had the vibe in the game, so we're like, Inho. And then we looked up Inho in Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese means little. So, like, all the famous European footballers are Inho, like Ronaldinho, Robinho. So we were thinking, well, if it means little in Portuguese, it's little soccer. So, and we wanted to name it something board. So Binho board with the alliteration effect sounded really good. And then if you look at our logo, the tilde over the N and the dot over the I form a finger hitting the ball. So it's a little play on the logo, too.
You bring up another good point then, Nick, and I mentioned to you before we went on here, because for our radio audience, we also have small business owners, entrepreneurs as ready, of course, for our online audience as well. These are all things I think people need to think about and probably don't always think about, right, when it goes to launching a product or a brand. Was that something also that evolved? You mentioned, of course, the names. Was that something when it came to the logo and everything that kind of evolved along the way?
Yeah, so I had a vision from the beginning of, of just the type of name I wanted and what I wanted to look to be. Like, I was influenced a lot by skateboard culture growing up. So there's a lot of influence from, skateboard brands growing up in terms of the font we used in the logo. But, I wanted something unique as well. I didn't want anything generic sounding or like, finger soccer or, flicker ball. It's like I just wanted, something that we could create a brand out of, something that meant something to me. And, just something that was different and fun for people. And, I think the more thought you put behind, the fonts or the logos or anything in your company or brand, people can feel that. Maybe not upfront consciously, but in their subconscious, they can feel that you put a lot of thought and effort into that. And I think they enjoy it.
You mentioned, of course, now you have tens of thousands of units, Nick, that have been sold. Do you still have those wow moments when you think about where you've come from, not only these past 4 years, but how the word has really just exploded? Yeah,
there's definitely been. It's more about, it's not an everyday thing where I realize it, but like every so often, every couple of months, there's like we hit this next level, and we're just like, wow, I can't believe that we actually made it this far. And then it's also very cool, just like I was out in Europe, last year, and there were some Americans out there, and they knew Bino, and there was then a couple of days later there was other people that knew Bino, so bringing the board around, and I was like, this is crazy that random people across the world know what this is already, and that to me was one of the biggest eye openers. I was like, that's crazy. Like, I'm out in Europe and people know this. So that's 4 years ago, I honestly didn't think that was going to be happening, but it was a lot of hard work and just pushing it through social media to the masses is what really got it to that level. Yeah.
So let's talk about then I think which always is the catch-22 for any of us that are creatives, right, Nick? And that is appreciating where you are and being happy with that, but knowing there's more you want to do. So what is the vision when it comes to being aboard?
So and you nailed it right there, because there's a lot of little wins along the way, and I'm trying to do a better job with my team of acknowledging those little wins. I'm obviously very competitive, so to me, little wins, it's like I just kind of process them real quick and move on. But they are very important. But in terms of long-term vision, we want to make it into a worldwide sport. The great thing about Bino board is you're using your finger, so it technically is a physical activity. Even though you're sitting down or standing, you're not using a lot of physical energy. You're
right.
physically controlling the game, and it's designed to be a pretty difficult game. So it's not like you're just walking up to a table and scoring a bunch of goals. Like if you're playing somebody that's experienced, you're likely going to probably lose to them 7-0 or something like that, on the first time playing them. So we want to make it into a sport. We want to sign more licensing deals. Like right now we have signed licensing deals with Arsenal, Liverpool, MLS, Club America in Mexico, and the USL. And so, we want to get into more Premier League teams and whatnot, and eventually tie it all together and be having worldwide tournaments and just having fun through the competitive side of the game, because it's truly, when looked at as a sport, a sport that anyone can play. Literally, you have to have one finger to be able to play, and that's it. And so, there's the market's massive, and anyone can compete, which makes us truly unique in that regard.
Yeah. Another thing I mentioned, I wanted to make sure I brought up for the segment, Nick, is, again, going back to the YouTube, because, again, I was so struck by that, is that it really can be a way of bringing people together, whether we're talking about friends or family. Was that also part of the connection? Even when people go to the website, we're going to have you get that out here, people on the beach, people pretty much anywhere, this is something you can be able to use. Was that kind of part of the story that you want to be able to share as well?
Yes, I think foundationally that's one of the most important, ideas behind Bino, is that anybody can play anybody. So you're just, we've seen some of the most fantastic dynamics of different types of people playing each other, because you're connecting on a pitch right in front of you with somebody you don't know. And so we've seen so many friendships created. Honestly, half the guys on our Bino team here in town, met their girlfriends through playing Bino like the first night with them. So you're just creating these connections that you normally wouldn't have because, it takes the pressure off the situation. That's also part of, why I designed it, is that it puts you into a flow state. And so when you're just constantly flicking, the other person flicks, you flick, and it feels good, looks good, all that, it takes that edge off and ultimately just, lets people truly connect off their phones organically. And, it feels good. It feels good for people. And that's something we're always going to bring to the table. And it's always going to be important to Bino.
Well, looking forward to definitely seeing what's next for you, Nick. Again, everyone, Nick Witherill has been our guest. He's the CEO and founder of the Bino board. We've been talking not only about what it's been like for him to see the success of it, but also what it's been like for him to see how the way it's been able to bring people together and expand. So, Nick, let our audience know, how can they find out more information about it as well as get their own?
Absolutely. So where to purchase the boards is at binoboard.com. It's B as in boy, INHOBOARD.com. Also, you can head to our Instagram at binoboard, same spelling. We'll have a lot of trick shot videos, how to plays, how the red and yellow cards work, all the, as far as you want to go down the rabbit hole of Bino on our Instagram and TikTok. So those are the two best places to go.
All right, and we'll make sure that we link that up for our podcast audience as well. Nick, congratulations to you again. Really appreciate the time and looking forward to speaking with you again on the broadcast.
Likewise. Thanks, Cyrus, and thanks for having me on.
Hey, glad to do it. Definitely want to thank our friend Zach at ZTPR for setting up this chat with us for today, and we thank all of you for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live, and let's go make today amazing. Take care.